Code Red, Commanderville? You know what no one is telling you about this crisis. We're buried at number 18 in the rankings. Injuries are cursing us. And now a former Cowboy is throwing shade at OUR franchise QB just for smiling. But here's the game changer. While we're falling apart, a forgotten veteran just lit up my hum-hums. If you don't subscribe now, you'll miss the exclusive on how this beast might just save the season. Are you really going to let the media keep burying the Commanders? This is urgent. Next week decides if we're contenders or trash. Turn on those notifications or regret it later. Reality hit hard on Monday night, and now the numbers back it up. The Washington Commanders have dropped to number 8 in NFL.com S Power rankings after that brutal 28-7 beatdown by the Kansas City Chiefs. And let me tell you something. This isn't just a 2-spot drop. It's the reflection of a crisis that's been snowballing for 3 straight weeks. Remember when we were fighting for the top spot in the division? When people were calling us legit Super Bowl contenders? Now we're sitting at 3-5, looking up at teams we didn't even consider threats a month ago. And the worst part, we have to watch the Ravens, Falcons, and even the damn Cowboys ranked ahead of us. NFL.com analyst Eric Edholm didn't sugarcoat it. He called us a compromised team that fought early, but couldn't stop the defensive avalanche in the second half. And you know what hurts the most about his take? He's absolutely right. Because this isn't just about losing a game. It's about how we lost it. The injury list from Monday reads like a war zone report. Johnny Newton went down. Javon Kinlaw, too. We didn't even have Jaden Daniels going into the game. And then, as if the football gods were mocking us, Laramie Tunsil pulled his hamstring. You get what that means. Our star left tackle, the guy we brought in specifically to protect our franchise quarterback, gets hurt in a game where that quarterback isn't even playing. But here's something I think a lot of folks are missing. Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin were back, right? McLaurin made a couple of insane grabs that reminded us why he's one of the best in the league. But he only played a handful of snaps in the second half. Why? Because that nagging quad injury flared up again. Marcus Mariota did what he could, and honestly, he held it down pretty well, all things considered. That interception? That was on Samuel, not him. But after halftime, he just couldn't get the offense going. And now I ask you this. How's a backup QB supposed to get anything going when he's losing weapons every 5 minutes? Edholm wrapped up his breakdown with a warning that hit me deep. The Commanders have to hope Daniels can return for a big game against the Seahawks. Because Washington's grip on this season is starting to slip. And that line sums up exactly where we are right now. Look, the teams below us in those rankings include the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, the Falcons in a weak division, the Panthers who are at least showing some fight. And don't even get me started on the Cowboys. Seeing them ranked above us after everything we've done this year feels like swallowing broken glass. But here's the truth nobody wants to admit. We deserve to be at number 18. Not because we lack talent, not because we're not trying, but because when the injuries hit, we didn't have the depth to respond. And that, my friends, is on the whole organization. You think Adam Peters saw this injury storm coming when he built this roster? I don't think so. But now we're paying the price for not having enough depth at key spots, especially on the D-line and O-line. The game against the Seahawks is set for 8:20 p.m. Eastern at Northwest Stadium. And let me tell you, that game isn't just important, it's critical. Because if we lose that one, if we fall to 3-6, then we're not talking about a rough patch anymore. We're talking about a lost season dot. So now I ask you, Commanders, fans, do you still believe this team can turn it around? Or are you already thinking about next year's draft? Because the difference between those two mindsets is going to shape how we live these next 9 weeks. And if that surprises you, wait till you hear this. Just when you thought the week couldn't get any worse, Troy Aikman had to open his mouth. The former Cowboys quarterback, now a broadcaster, dropped a comment about Jaden Daniels during Monday Night Football that made my blood boil. And let me be clear, it was a cheap shot, totally unnecessary, and way out of line. What did Aikman say? While the cameras showed Daniels on the sideline cheering on his teammates, Aikman sarcastically said our quarterback was having a little too much fun for someone whose team is down 2 scores. Let me repeat that. He criticized Daniels for smiling while supporting his team. Can you believe that? Are we really at a point where we're bashing a player for staying positive? Because let me tell you something Aikman clearly doesn't get. That's exactly why Jaden Daniels is special. I've watched this kid since he came in as the number 2 overall pick in the 2024 draft. I've seen him almost single-handedly change the culture of this franchise. I've seen him take us to the NFC Championship game as a rookie. And you know what sets him apart? His demeanor never changes. He could be up by 20 or down by 20. And Daniels is going to have the same calm, the same smile, the same positive energy. That's his superpower. That's why his teammates follow him. That's why when he's on the field, everyone believes we can win no matter the score dot. So what did Aikman want him to do? Sit on the bench sulking? Show frustration and negativity? While his teammates are out there giving it everything? Because if that's what you want, then you clearly don't understand what leadership looks like. Troy Aikman, with all due respect to his Hall of Fame career, is letting his long-standing hate for Washington cloud his judgment. Let's be real, he never got over those epic battles in the 90s. Cowboys versus Washington was war, and even decades later, that grudge is still simmering. But here's what Aikman conveniently left out. Daniels made the trip to Kansas City just to be with his team. He was injured. He didn't have to be there, but he went anyway. Because that's what real leaders do. They don't bail when things get tough. And let me remind you, this is the same Jaden Daniels who pulled us out of a 20-year hole of mediocrity last season. The same guy who made us believe again with his accuracy, poise, and that magic arm. The same guy who always shows up when it matters most. Want to know what this team looks like without Daniels? Look at the last 3 weeks. Look at how lost the offense looks. Look at how we can't convert on 3rd down. Look at how the drives keep stalling. That's what happens when your franchise QB isn't on the field. I think Aikman made that comment because deep down, he knows Daniels is the real deal. He knows Washington finally found its quarterback after decades of searching. And that stings because the Cowboys are still trying to figure out if Dak Prescott is the answer. But here's the reality every Commanders fan needs to understand. Daniels' personality, that constant smile, that positive energy isn't a weakness. It's his biggest strength. It's what makes him different. It's what lets him rally the team and create magic when everything seems lost. Remember that Hail Mary against Chicago last year? Remember how Daniels looked before that play? Calm, smiling, confident. Because that's who he is. And 5 seconds later, we were celebrating one of the most iconic moments in recent franchise history. So when Troy Aikman or any other analyst wants to criticize Jaden Daniels for being himself, I say they need to take a long look in the mirror. Because what they're hating on is exactly what makes this kid special. And if you, Commanders fans, are buying into that hate, you're missing the bigger picture. Daniels is a beacon of positivity and calm when the moment calls for it. And when it's time to lock in, to execute, to win, he does it. Asking him to be anything else is ridiculous. It's like asking a lion not to roar dots, so now I ask you, would you rather have a quarterback who crumbles under pressure, or one who stays composed no matter what I know my answer? I hope you know yours too, but that's nothing compared to what's coming next. Now, in the middle of all this chaos, all this negativity, all this wave of bad news, there's one story Nitrogen Monoxide 1 is talking about. And it's the story of a veteran who's writing the most important chapter of his career right here, with us in Washington. Jacob Martin. Tell me how many of you even noticed when we signed this defensive end in free agency? Probably none. And I don't blame you. Martin's what they call a journeyman in this league. A vet in his 8th season, played for 7 different teams. Never had more than 4 sacks in the season. But Monday night, against the damn Chiefs. Jacob Martin did something he's been waiting his whole to do. He dominated. He recorded 2 full sacks on Patrick Mahomes. 2. And let me tell you, those weren't cleanup sacks. They weren't lucky. They were pure effort, technique, and determination. Remember when we cut Clelin Ferrell in the preseason? Everyone thought it was nuts. Ferrell was a former first-rounder, had the pedigree, had the name. But that surprise move locked in Martin's spot on the roster. And now, with brutal injuries to Dietrich Wise Jr., Giovanna Jean-Baptiste, and Dorrance Armstrong Jr., Martin has been forced into a much bigger role than anyone expected. He started 6 of our 8 games this season. Think about that. A guy who looked like a question mark to even make the team in the summer is now a regular starter. And he's not just filling space, he's producing. Before the Kansas City game, Martin had recorded half a sack in 3 different games. He was contributing, sure, but hadn't gotten a full one yet. Well, Monday night, he broke through. And he did it in style, leading a pass rush that kept Mahomes off balance the entire first half. Now check these numbers. Martin has 3.5 sacks on the season. That puts him 3rd on the team, behind only Armstrong with 5.5 and Von Miller with 4. And get this, he's on pace to set career highs in sacks, tackles, and QB hits. All at 30 years old, in what many thought might be his last shot in the NFL. I think Jacob Martin's story is exactly the kind of narrative we need right now. Because while everyone's talking about injuries, losses, and rankings, here's a vet making the absolute most of his shot. And you know what else I love about this story? Martin came to Washington knowing this might be his last stop in the league. He signed for just $3 million, which in NFL terms is basically a minimum deal. No guarantees. No promises of playing time. Just a chance to prove he still belongs. And man, is he proving it? Every Sunday, every Monday night, this guy shows up and gives it everything he's got. No complaints about his role. No demands for more money. Just work. And in a season full of letdowns, injuries, and frustration, that's exactly the kind of mindset we need. Now I ask you, how many players in this league would take advantage of a shot like that? How many 30-year-old vets on their 17 would still have the hunger and drive Martin's showing? I'll tell you right now, not many. I know we lost the game. I know it was a blowout. I know there are 1,000 things we could complain about. But Martin's performance was a bright spot in the darkness. A reminder that even when everything feels like it's falling apart, there are still guys on this roster fighting. And here's what people aren't thinking about. Martin's earning himself a raise for next season. If he keeps producing like this, if he finishes strong, some team's gonna offer him more than those $3 million he's making now. And honestly, he'll deserve it. But beyond the money, beyond the stats, what Jacob Martin is showing us is something you can't measure. He's showing us that character matters, that determination matters, that when you get a shot, no matter how many times you've been cut or traded, you can still make an impact. You think Martin's satisfied with 3.5 sacks? I don't think so. This man is hungry. He's got something to prove. And every time he puts on that burgundy and gold, he's out there showing he belongs. In a defense wrecked by injuries. On a D-line missing 3 of its best players, Jacob Martin has become a key piece. And even though he doesn't have Von Miller's name or someone else's pedigree, he's producing at the same level. So now I ask you, isn't that exactly what we want to see? Isn't that what being part of this organization is all about? Because to me, Jacob Martin's story represents everything that's right about this sport. It's about opportunity, effort, and the reward of hard work. So yeah, we lost to the Chiefs. Yeah, we're 3-5. Yeah, things look bleak right now. But as long as we've got players like Jacob Martin who refuse to quit, who sees every chance, there's still hope. There are still reasons to believe. So there you have it, Commanders fans. 3 stories that paint the full picture of where we stand. A drop in the rankings that reflects our current reality. Unfair shots at our franchise QB that just prove haters gonna hate. And an inspiring story of a veteran having the best season of his life. You know what hits me the most about all this? That in the middle of the chaos, the injuries, the losses, there are still reasons to keep the faith. Jacob Martin is showing us that effort matters. Jaden Daniels is reminding us that leadership comes in many forms. And this team, bruised and battered, still has 9 games left to write its story. So now I ask you, what do you think about Troy Aikman's comments? Were they fair or out of line? Do you back Jaden for keeping that positive energy even in a loss? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear from you. And if you think Jacob Martin deserves more love, if you believe this vet is showing what it means to be a true pro, then say IT in the comments. Because stories like Martin's are the ones we need to celebrate, especially in tough times like these. Now, if you like this content, if you learned something new, if you felt that burgundy and gold passion we all share, then I need you to do one thing for me. Hit that LIKE button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And turn on that notification bell. Because every day I'm bringing you the biggest news, the deepest analysis, and the realest passion for this team we all love. Because at the end of the day, we're a family. A burgundy and gold family that suffered together, celebrated together, and will keep riding with this team no matter what. And I'm here for you to keep you informed, to give you the takes you won't find anywhere else. The Seahawks game is massive. 9 games left in the season. And even though things look dark right now, even though we're 3-5, even though injuries are killing us, there's still time. There's still hope. And as long as we've got players like Martin who won't quit, and a leader like Daniels waiting to return, then we can't quit either. So stick with me, Commanders fans. Because this is just getting started. And I promise we're going to be here together all the way through this season and beyond. And remember, hail to the Redskins.